All right, seniors, how you doing? So we're almost to the end here of the year, sadly, amazingly, and we're gonna go through what's left of the content pretty quick. Okay, so Friday there's gonna be some sort of little quiz, um, which will be multiple choice questions you've already seen, like a few of them, like five, I don't know, and that's it. Because we just had a big meeting in the 12th grade today about next week, and everybody's having AP tests. I don't have a lot of students taking tests, but I don't want to overload y'all with a final exam plus AP tests. So we're just gonna do like a little quiz, and then I promise, eventually, probably next week, I will have the papers graded. I'm sorry it's taking me so long. Anyway, all right. So we're gonna kind of go quickly through what's left of the content. We can't go in. Well, we'll go as we go. Okay, we don't have much time left to go over content basically. But we're going to talk about Vietnam for the next few days, and today we're going to start with just the origins of escalation, which is the intensification of American involvement in Vietnam. Okay, so the most important context for this war, remember, is the Cold War, and the idea that if you allowed communism to spread from North Vietnam into the South, that it would spread to other countries in the region, creating a domino effect. And then the region itself, Indochina, would become more, and there would be more communism there, basically. And then who knows? It could go from there, Australia or New Zealand or South, whatever, Philippines. So that was the main reason for our enforcement in the first place. This was essentially the policy of Truman, of Eisenhower, and of Kennedy, and then Lyndon Baines Johnson inherits this policy. And he is, can you hear the rain? Does that indicate to you what time it is? And so Lyndon Baines Johnson is, he's inheriting the policy of containment, of, stopping the domino effect. And, he is not an expert in foreign affairs. He is not someone who wants to engage in the war in Vietnam. He would much rather spend lots of money on his Great Society projects. But coming into office in 1964, he wants to prove that he's tough and that he's going to be tough on communism. And he has these advisors around him, Robert McNamara, the defense secretary, and the guy who ends up being the commander in Vietnam, Westmoreland, who are pushing him to greater intensification of American involvement in Vietnam. And he goes along with the advising. And also, part of it is, again, he wants to prove that he's a tough guy, okay? So, but it's, of course, broadly speaking, in that context of the Cold War, all right? Now, we talked about a few weeks ago, or last week or something, John F. Kennedy escalating American involvement in terms of sending military consultants there and supplies and money to the South Vietnamese government. And of course, the last thing that had happened was that there had been a coup to take out Diem, the guy that was in control of South Vietnam. And Kennedy had basically allowed, he didn't organize it, but he didn't try to stop it. He said they should, basically didn't say much of anything, and his ambassador there, Henry Cabot Lodge, approved of it, and then Diem was killed, and then Kennedy was upset because Kennedy didn't realize it was going to be this violent thing, I guess. All right, well, that has destabilized the government in South Vietnam, of course, and that was kind of where we left off. All right, and so the North Vietnamese are infiltrating the South. Their goal is to overthrow the destabilized government in the South. This war has been going on for years at this point already. They've got this elaborate network of roads going from the north into the south called the Ho Chi Minh Trail. You can get heavy trucks on there, you can get lots of supplies in there. The North Vietnamese forces at this point are under the control of Ho Chi Minh and his main general, a guy named Vo Nguyen Giap. Giap, I don't know how to say it. And, they are conducting primarily guerrilla warfare, but as the Americans get more involved, There will be some what you call traditional pitched battles, where that's like you meet up at a field and you shoot at each other. That will take place going forward. All right, so what causes the escalation? The origins of the escalation. So the end of JFK's presidency, I almost said reign. Presidency, Camelot. Reign, presidency. That's it. He right. He's increased by a lot of the money and the military consultants going there. All right. Now, American soldiers being involved in combat in a big way in Vietnam is going to begin under LBJ as part of the escalation thing. We would trace the turning point to August of 1964, the Gulf of Tonkin crisis. Okay, so I'm going to put this in a different lecture because we're already at almost 6 minutes here. Okay, so stay tuned.